In this chapter, we're going to talk about color correction and color grading. So what's the difference? Well, color correction is changing things like your exposure is too high or too low, or your color balance is off. And color grading is where you can change the contrast of the look of the video. You can take different LUTs, which are lookup tables, for example, and overlay them onto your video so that it will give you certain looks where more like that orange and teal look that they use a lot on YouTube over the past couple of years and things like this. So we're going to get into all these little things now. We're going to take a little look at scopes. Color grading and color correction is a vast subject on its own. So we're just going to touch the basics in this course. All right, so let's get into it.
The next thing we can look at, as I do as I build it on, I do the color correction as I go. A lot of people will have you click on this and make an adjustment layer here. Say OK. And then this says adjustment layer over here. And they'll put that on the next video slide or even one above it if they've got more video in this area. And you can drag this along. And then what they'll do is they will make the color correction on this adjustment layer. So this is, imagine like a film over the top of all of these clips, and the adjustment colors will then be applied to all of them without doing individual ones. So we're not going to do that right now. If I just press delete on that, and I'm going to get rid of it out of my bin as well, because each one of these bits of film were filmed with different cameras, with different light settings, different apertures, and we want to tweak them a little bit individually. So what we're going to do is color grade and color correct these individually. So how do we do that? So the first thing to do is go to the top. If you don't have color at the top, you can go to Window, Workspaces, and choose Color. And I choose the color panel here. Now be careful when you choose this. Make sure you can see this defaults to the blue around this one or this one. This will mean I'm adjusting the color based on this guy. So click on the one that the video clip in your program panel, and you clicked on it down here. And now what we can do is you can see there's an auto button. This is where over here we're in the Lumetri color. We're in basic correction. If it comes up with anything else like creative or curves or whatever, go back to basic. And then what you can do first of all is you can just make sure you're clicked on this one, say auto, and it will try to auto correct to what it thinks exposure should be, contrast, highlights, and blacks and whites. If you don't like that, you can just click on reset and it resets. So also if you do auto and then you click on this little checkbox, it clicks on and off the effect, so you can see the difference. So if we do reset on that. The other thing is you have a white balance corrector here. So you can click on something that's white in the picture. And then what you can do is you can, again, make sure you're in the right area. We can make this cooler, for example, or warmer. They can go crazy, right? You can make it very green or very... The idea here is to make it natural. So basically, if you mess up in here, just double click and they go back to 0. Okay, and you can also reset this. So again, make sure you're always in this panel. One thing you can do, it's a bit advanced here, but we can do Window and we can check on Lumetri scopes. And these scopes then look at the color signatures. Now there's a whole science behind this, and people just make their living doing color correction. However, one thing you can do, which this helps with, is you're looking at this. You can use the exposure up here to go 255 up here is pure white and 0 is pure black. So this is looking at all the signature information in this video clip over here. So click on this again, and what we're going to do is move that up with the exposure, because this is really white here. And then the next thing you can do is move the blacks up and down as well. So what you can do is try to bring them down towards 0, but don't make them past 0. So we're just trying to make it roughly there. And when you're done with that, you can forget about that panel right there. Now to close this panel down, you'll see it's opened up here. We can just click on these 3 lines and say close panel, and that goes away, and your effects panel's back, or your source panel where we were right here. Okay. Now, what you can do then, you can play around with, again, making sure you're on the right video clip, on the right panel it's looking at. You can play with saturation to make it really dark. This is all down to your personal taste, or black and white. So again, double clicking makes it 100%. The idea is to make it natural without going crazy, and you can play around with contrast a little bit. And then the highlights, so you can see what the highlights do. So if I do that, you can see the waves are washed out. So if I move that back down, you can see you start seeing more detail in the waves itself. Maybe bring the contrast down a little bit. Again, it's all personal taste. Same with shadows. So if I do this, all the shadows are really light. If I bring them back down a little bit, they go really dark. So I can double click to make them back in the center. And then the whites are blown out. Obviously they're faded here. So again, you're just trying to play with this so it looks natural to you. And then, we can just play this again to see what that looks like. Okay, so if you're happy with that, what we're going to do is then move on to the next one. So for this one, same thing. Make sure you clicked on that video source and you're in that window. Try auto. You can see it just went a little bit brighter. I might want to bring that down a little bit. You don't always have to use a scope, so I just showed you that. And it's just what it looks like to you. If you want it a bit warmer here, because it's a sunset, you can actually make it a bit warmer by dragging this guy. This is like opposites of each other. This is warmer, this goes cooler. So whatever you feel like, to me it looks like a sunset. So I'm just going to drag that like that. And on the last one, this looks a little bit washed out in the beginning part of the video here. Again, this guy has a white shirt on. Maybe you can click on that. That gives you what it thinks is a white balance. You can click on auto. You can see it went a little bit brighter with colors compared to what it is on and off. Very subtle. And again, you can play around with a little bit of saturation maybe. And you can just see what you think, like the exposure. Touch on that, a little bit of contrast. And again, click this button on and off here just to see the difference. So again, don't go crazy. That's what you want to do, but you want to do this for each clip. You just sort of color correcting. All right, so that's it for color correcting. There's a lot more to it.